Welcome to the first episode of the Poured Perspective, Vino with Alvino. I'm Christina Alvino, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit kind of about my origin story, but also how this particular segment of StorChats came to be and why it's so important and kind of what it'll be about going forward. So the name basically came from my last name of Alvino, and growing up, my friends always thought it was wild that my last name meant the wine. So that's why the Poured Perspective. Pour yourself a glass of wine, sit back and enjoy the different bold perspectives that will be shared on this podcast, either myself or with different guests along the way. So for me, the origin kind of where my story began and my history starts with family. Entrepreneurship, business ownership has always been part of our family. And no, it is not because we were in the mob, but my dad's side of the family immigrated through Ellis Island. When they came to America, they ended up changing their last name to Alvin because they were doctors and lawyers. They had their own practices. And at the time, having a European sounding last name meant that you were dirty and people didn't want to do business with you. So there's always been entrepreneurship, business ownership on that side of the family. And then for those that know the history of FineView Marketing and how it got its name, my great-great-grandmother on my mom's side of the family immigrated by herself at the age of like 16, knew absolutely no English, ended up being a business owner in the steel mill towns outside of Pittsburgh. That's a whole nother story and a whole nother podcast to talk about. Not for today, but the part for today is that during the Great Depression, she owned row homes in the FineView neighborhood of Pittsburgh. So came to America with nothing, never really learned to speak any English, would sign her name on all of her legal documents as an X, but she somehow managed to buy homes during the Great Depression and took care of herself. And so that legacy is kind of what's pushed me to be where I am today. So knowing that my great-grandmother in, the late 1920s, early 1930s was a female in business, kind of only made it more prominent that that's what I needed to do. And I've always been a big supporter and a big advocate of women in business and creating your own career path. And that's what's pushed me to now be the CEO of StorSuite from, starting my first job working at Bath and Body Works at the mall, as a teenager, to working for larger hospitality companies outside of the self-storage industry. And honestly, I just truly happened upon the self-storage industry, looking for a new opportunity, and I haven't left. So being here and seeing so many women come into this space it's been amazing to watch over the last 15 years, and to see more women supporting women and helping to prop women up. That wasn't something that I was used to. I was used to being around women leaders who tore other women down or were just very negative towards them, from dance teachers to cheerleading coaches to even, my first couple bosses in the corporate world. It was never truly about supporting and propping other women up. It was my first ever female boss out of college. I was working retail, and she knew that I was a huge Steelers fan, and she would purposely schedule me to work every Steelers game because she didn't like who I was. She didn't like that I was bold. She didn't like that I challenged the status quo, that I asked questions, that I was more of an aggressive female in business than other women are used to. Most of the female bosses that I had or interviews that I did continued to prove that point. And it was something that I learned that that's not what I wanted to be when I got that opportunity. I wanted to be a cheerleader for other women. I wanted to support them and help them grow. And that means more than just me being in the leadership role that I'm in. So those experiences over the years of working for, and I don't want to say toxic, because I don't really think that they were toxic female bosses. I think they just Some of them didn't know any better. I think the lessons I've learned from working for different people is that knowing what your risk tolerance is, knowing how to persevere through setbacks and things that held you back. I wasn't going to let those individuals hold me back from what my goals were and what I wanted to achieve for myself. And it's, again, something that's always been a part of me, but not something that you truly recognize until you're older in life and you look back at stories of, people tried to put me down when I was in high school and when I was dancing and when I was cheerleading. And, I persevered to a point that I danced at the University of Kentucky on the dance team for, all of the sports. And I was part of the athletic department. And it wasn't something that a lot of people encouraged me, but it was the right people that ended up encouraging me and not holding me down and pushing me back. And I've had that same thing in business, is being able to persevere, go out and not wait for the next opportunity, but to create your next opportunity. So don't let those people that are saying all this negative stuff in the background keep you from achieving your goals and your dreams and what you want to do. And just know that perseverance, being willing to take a risk, and supporting others that support you are what is going to get you to that next level in your career or in achieving what you want out of life. So I think for women in our industry, in the self-storage industry, commercial real estate, whatever big broad category you want to make that, is it's still such a male dominated space that we as women need to continue to put our ideas out there, be a voice for ourselves and be a voice for others, and continue to, professionally and diplomatically put ourselves in the right rooms, regardless of age or gender, and continue to push forward for the women in the industry. When I started in self-storage 15 years ago, I think there were 5 other women I'd see at self-storage conferences. And now we have the Women's Council where 50, 60, 70 women show up every national conference. So us continuing to be able to truly support each other, and I think women being able to meet, and this is unpopular opinion, but women and men being able to meet in the middle. So men aren't going to completely change for women in business, and women can't completely change for men. And I think we've gotten a lot better over the last decade or two to meeting in that middle, and having an understanding of how everybody can work together. And that's really what I've tried to do in the storage industry, is not change who I am, but accept who others are. Thanks for joining me for the first episode of Poured Perspective, Vino with Alvino. Don't forget to check out the other segments in our StorChats podcast. And next time, pour yourself a glass of wine and we'll pour over more conversations about business, women in leadership, and of course, self-storage, and much, much more. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you're sipping on something good, tag it in the comments. I'm always in to try a new glass of wine. Cheers.